always tell people I was minding my own business. And he comes up to my room and knocks on the door. He says, hey, would you come look at this guy? And I said, yeah, okay. But by this time, you have to understand, I had done a lot of consultation with exorcists because they would contact me because I'd written these 3 books in psychology. And at a certain point, I asked one exorcist, well, why don't you just talk to your local psychologist? And he said, well, it's because the demons actually understand human psychology the same way St. Thomas did. And so the exorcists were talking to me about it. So I had some knowledge of it, about what was actually going on. And I had been doing some deliverance work for about 2 years before I was even asked, going and cleaning up buildings and houses and praying over people that had minor or lesser forms of extraordinary diabolic influence, like oppression and obsession. Mm-hmm. But then what happens is that, so he knocks on the door, I go down, and he opens up, and it's open to chapter 3 of title 12 of the Rituale Romanum, which is the exorcism of apostate angels by Leo XIII. Mm. So I look over at this guy and I say, okay, I see what this is. And so I didn't get a third of the way through this, and boom, it was a full-blown manifestation. And so I just stopped and then just said to the pastor, I said, well, send him to the archdiocese, presuming they would have an exorcist. So he writes him a letter, tells him the case, the situations of the case. And we had seen the preternatural manifestation. So we said, we've seen it, so you need to get, we're sending them so that you can assign it to your exorcist. Well, they write back and says, we don't have an exorcist. So I said, well, write him a letter and tell him to get one. Like you could just order one online, something. So they sent it to them, and then they wrote back 2 weeks later, says, we just can't find anybody who's capable of even doing it. Now, the exorcist that I had been consulting with said that one of the indicators that Christ wants you to be the one to process the case is that the demon will manifest preternaturally for the first time to the one he knows is to liberate. Mm. And there is a certain sense in which that's true. I don't think it's an absolute, but there's a general sense in which that's true, because demons are hyper-focused on power. It's all about power. They've lost everything else. And so the only thing left for them is power. And so when you have 4 or 5 priests enter a room, if they know who the exorcist is, who's the lead exorcist, they become focused on him. And the rest of them, they don't pay any attention to. They might, if the other one gets a little bit in their face or something, but they'll totally pay attention to that guy. So I said, well, write them and tell them to try and find one. If they can't, then I'll do it. Because I figured then if this is what God is asking me of me. Now, 2 months before that, this is one of those, be careful what you ask for in prayer. Mm. So I said to Our Lady, make me a man of prayer.